Well, I was going to do the Cherokee fenders because they're like rust covered right now and they're the only things that haven't been painted. However, it's so smoking hot in Florida that the next thing that I need to do is put air conditioning in. So I've got 3 partial units here. I'm going to dig into these and see which one is the best, and see which controls are working. And I'm going to start building an air conditioner to put into the Cherokee. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe there's a good compressor in the Cherokee. Either that or that one that's in the Cherokee blew up when I had it in the J20, and then I took it out and swapped them so that I could hook the belts up to run the Cherokee. So we'll have to figure that out. But anyway, that's going to be the priority, is getting the air conditioner, is to get the air conditioning going. And I'll take and step you through that. Now, this is not something new. I've got 2 or 3 videos on refurbishing the Jeep, the full-size Jeep air conditioning boxes. So this will probably be a really short video because I'm not going to elaborate on the stuff that I've already covered. So let's get busy. We got to get this thing to where I can tolerate it. I can tolerate it. I roll the driver's window down and I roll the rear tailgate window down, but it's still hot. So let's get busy on that. Rocky out. All right, so I've basically torn down 2.5 of these units, and I'm going to find the one that's least cracked up and start putting it back together. I've got 3 fans. I'm going to check to see which fan runs the fastest with a 12-volt battery. And of course, if none of them run, then I'll buy a new one. I've got a couple evaporator cores. They're all packed full of dirt and nastiness. And I'm even questioning whether or not I'm going to be able to use these cables, the gas lines, or if I'm going to have to get new ones. I can probably have them made up, and that way I can be sure that they're going to fit the flange that was the original piece. I'll take the old ones there and just have them duplicate it at a shop. But that's where we're at. I think I've got everything I need. I've got 3 controllers. I should be able to get 1 out of 3 controllers working. And one thing that I want to point out that's in my other videos also is when you glue these doors back together and stuff like that, don't use a sealant or a glue. Just go ahead and use like a tub and tile caulk, because if you ever need to take it apart, I mean, it lasts like 10 years anyway. If you ever have to take it apart, it's not going to bust up the panels to try to get them separated. So I always use tub and tile caulk, and I do a flash paint over that so that you can't see the caulking. But it looks like I got everything that I need, and we'll start putting this baby together. So now I finally got around to identifying which parts I want to use for my reassembly. And if you look at the white lines that I put in there with the paint pencil, those are cracks in the housing. And I'm going to use some 3M automotive bonding epoxy. And I've got a little bit of that here and down here. But these are the 2 pieces that looked like they were in the best shape and easiest to get back in order. And then I've got 2, count them, 2 accumulators that I used a rust converter on the tubing, the plumbing. And then I coated it with primer afterwards. And that's just to try to keep the corrosion at bay when I put the put these back in. And other than that, that's where we're at. I'll be getting this together, and then when I'm happy with the fit and finish, I'll go ahead and reassemble it and also do my vents, etc. And one of the things that I noticed too is you got the vent that's closest to the passenger door, and it's mostly blocked off. There's about 1.5 inches above this that's clear. So obviously there's the potential for a lot of flow to go into that. And I know for a fact that I don't sit there. So I'm thinking about blocking this off even more. Of course, have a little bit of flow. And that way more air will be forced to the other plenums and through the plenum and to the other vents closer to where I'm going to be. So let's get busy on that and get working. Well, I've got plenty of parts, and I looked at the parts that are still remaining on the Cherokee. It looks like I got a good compressor. I've already got the evaporator, or not the evaporator, the condenser mounted up, and I've got all the Freon hoses that I need. I've got good pieces for that. So I've also got a combination of like 3 different units. I've got 3 more in the backyard if I need them. That's what the benefit of hoarding is. So I've got plenty. I put a new air conditioning unit in, a custom one from Cold Master in a 79 F250. I've got videos on that. A decent unit, fairly easy to put together. It takes a little bit of time because you got to make the brackets and stuff for it. But I can get a replacement unit for the Cherokee for a big one, a large one, for about 650 bucks. And the truth of it is, the labor that it will take me to put that in is probably about the same as refurbishing one of these is going to be. And the big concern that I had was, I was like, hey, you know, if I'm going to take the time to refurbish this, maybe I need to put a new evaporator core in there. Well, no, because evaporator cores are about 240 bucks a piece. And then I was also like, well, what if I need to put a condenser in? Because I wasn't sure that I still had the one in the unit. And an accumulator. Well, an accumulator is 40 bucks, and a condenser is anywhere from $80 to $150. And then you'll need an electric fan that's controlled off of the AC clutch so that you've got extra wind, or not extra wind, you've got extra airflow when the air conditioner's on. So it adds up really, really fast. And so I was looking at potentially a $650 unit, brand new, knowing that everything would go together. And for the same amount of labor, $650 versus $400 plus to get an old unit working. So yeah, there's some, you got to consider that when you're putting one of these together, that you can maybe outsource and go to a custom unit and get something that's newer, more modern, probably has a higher BTU and CFM rating than what this 40-year-old stuff has, and be happier. But in my case, it looks like I got all the goodies I need, so it's going to take me a little bit of time to build these units and then put them together. But other than that, everything looks good. All right, so I have basically got this thing put together, scuffed up, cleaned up, repaired the cracks, and I'm using Rust-Oleum spray-on bed liner because it has texture. So basically, I've got the first couple coats on there. I'm going to let that harden up, and I assembled it to do the final sanding, etc., so that everything would go together. And on the bottom section, one of the panels had warped right here. And what you can do, what I did, is basically take a heat gun heat that panel up, and then I basically used a vice grip and a plate of metal that's straight and heated it up, vice gripped that straight plate on there, and that reshaped it and brought it back to where it was no longer warped. So that all fits. And like I said, I'll take this apart again when I go to put the evaporator coil in, and then I'll use some bathroom tub and tile caulk to caulk that in, wipe it down real quick because it's water soluble, and let it set up, and then that thing will be done. Let me show you something else that you may run into. This is the contraption that you end up getting when you get replacement parts. This is an expansion valve, and you've got all this extra line, capillary line, that you have to fold in there, and then all this has to be wrapped and sealed because it'll condensate. This is what you should have. It's a much shorter line, maybe 6 inches. That clips to there, and this plugs in there, so then you don't have to fuss with all these lines and try to wrap them up. Then you've also got to insulate it with the rubber insulation so that it doesn't condensate onto the floor. So I'm going to buy, if I can find it, I'm going to buy one of these with the shorter capillary tubes, just so that I can say I put a new expansion valve on there. I'm going to blow and clean this out real good to make sure that it's nice, and we'll go ahead and start putting the plenum together with the cleaned up evaporator core. All right, guys. All right, so I pulled the remaining parts out of the Cherokee. I got the condenser fan out, or not the fan, but the condenser. It's going to need a fan, so I'm going to buy one. I've got a 16. It's too big, so I'll buy one, and it comes with a relay, and then I think I'll clean up these brackets a little bit, and I got the other hoses out of there. I'm going to need to get a sight glass for it, just so that my connections will stay together. And if you notice, that accumulator's there. That's an old accumulator. It's never been used, but it's been exposed to the elements. It's been open to atmosphere. So there's desiccant and other things in there. Who knows, there might be mud dauber wasp in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a new accumulator in, get everything cleaned up, blown out, and get an electric fan for this thing, and we'll start putting it together. Rocky out. All right, so this is basically done. And I can put this all together and check out the little plate for the speed and the cooling. I basically painted it silver and then sanded on a flat tabletop and got it back down to the plastic, which is actually brown. I put everything together. I still got to mount the fan. I'll mount the fan after I'm certain of where that the hoses are going to connect okay. And I tied in a nice little Deutsch plug for the fan, and one cable here goes to the fuse block for the compressor, the other one goes to the AC, and I'll plug those in when I mount the box. And let me show you the condenser, the condenser. So I have the condenser, I got the fan in today, so I put some fasteners in there so that I could put threaded inserts in. That's all working. This is all cleaned up. I got the little plugs on there. But I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to mount the fan to the condenser on the table. All right, so now we got this set up. This is the condenser with the new fan. I already checked the polarity and the black wire. Originally, you had a black and a blue. The blue is actually ground, so I'm going to ground that to chassis. I've got a Deutsch plug that'll power it up. And because of the ampacity is a little bit low on these, basically both connectors are hot, and I'll wire that on the other side of the plug also. That way we have a quick connect. We've got it all tied together. This is ready to go. The accumulator is ready to go along with the adapter there to go to the bottom of the condenser. I've also blown out all the hoses, the Freon hoses. A couple of them were full of mud dauber dirt, so you got to be careful. You don't want any of that crap to get into your system. So I ran basically some PB blaster through there to bust up any rust, contamination, and then blew it out with the hose, and then used some air tool oil to blow through the hose, got that cleaned up, and then I used brake clean and blew that out. So I'm sure that those are all clean. I'm going to let them drip dry while we're over the evening, and then tomorrow we'll start putting this thing together. All right, guys, this is where we're at. This is ready to install, except for I got to do the vents, and I covered a trick to get the sloppy vents to work correctly by using some Velcro felt in the hinges. I'm not going to go over that again because it's in another video, but this is ready to go. I've got the insulation on there so that it doesn't condensate and drip onto the floor, and the condenser and fan are installed. It's not wired up yet. Accumulator is installed. I've got my new cleaned lines hooked up to the accumulator and the condenser, just waiting to be hooked up to the compressor. So I'm going to finish this video because it's long enough, and then the installation could take 2 hours or it could take 10 hours. It depends on what kind of troubles I run into, because I'm going to be installing stuff that's really old and I don't know if it works until I try it. So we'll do another video on that, which will be the installation and testing. Okay? Rock Lawrence, the Slab.